Kanilang pananaw, pagtingin, pagsusuri sa batas na hinahain at napagkasundoan na sa isang technical working group process. Okay lang po na pakinggan po lahat. Yun po ang naunawaan ko sa presenta ni Chair kanina.
Mr. Chairman, just a very short manifestation, Madam Chair.
Yes, Honorable.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This presentation manifests strong support for this particular measure of anti-discrimination, SOGI. I carry the sentiments and the stand of the UP Student Council. My daughter is here, who is the Secretary General of the UP Student Council, together with another councilor, and the UP Student Council is strongly supporting this bill. And so, since the daughter is supporting, is the father who support this bill, and indeed, any anti-discrimination bill should be supported by each one of us, because we cannot discriminate on gender or gender preference and so forth. And so I'd just like to manifest that the chair decided to go to the defense budget. So just like my daughter, I only have one child. I only have one child, and I have a one child and one wife policy. So I ask my daughter to rise, because I'm going to miss if that's Regine Rodriguez, who is the student council. Thank you very much, Mr. So thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Rufus Rodriguez of the 2nd District of Cagayan de Oro. Thank you. And now maybe I also Honorable Estrelita Sansi of the 1st District of Nueva Ecija, another Vice Chair of CWG. We acknowledge our colleagues earlier before we listen now to the resource persons. Also, Honorable Luz Vinita Ilagan of Gabriela. So maybe we will now ask.
Being a member of this Congress and now very active outside the Congress, why should we be depriving him of his speech? Let's listen to him. We will learn from him. I think it's wrong to just set him aside on the basis of the things from said, the word in the English. Respect them. But on the other hand, precisely there's already a PWG for structure. An opinion coming from Honorable Congressman that should be welcome.
Of course, don't get me wrong. I didn't say that he should not speak. What I'm saying is, we are not here to tackle each provision and all the authors be required to answer and defend, because we're here to listen to all inputs. Now, if Congressman Marcoleta has something to say, his assessment, his thoughts, his insights on each of the provision, he's really welcome to share it, because as I said earlier, my coming here also is to listen to all inputs, to enhance and enrich the bill. So I did not come here to simply debate and defend on the output of the PWG, because I think that's not the purpose of our coming together. Otherwise, if you want that, then masasalang naman po ang pinunta dito ng iba't ibang resource person na sabi nga ni Congresswoman Chona ay dapat po natin marinig. So, ako po, kung may gusto pong i-share ang pangunawa ko po sa proseso natin ngayong hapon ay magbabahagi ang lahat ng resource person ng kanilang pananaw, pagtingin, pagsusuri at input nila doon po sa batas na tinatanakil mo natin.
Honorable Marcoleta, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Congressman Jensen. As a matter of fact, Madam Chair, I cited Section 2 because the author of the report here is the word person. To me, my understanding of the word person is that it's a man and a woman. Because it is the declaration of policy, and it says, I think the very foundation of this bill rests in Section 2. And if we are not agreeable on the term person here as being a woman and a woman, then there will be a problem here. In all my born years, I have always value the human person, the male and the female. In all my activities and all my relationships with other people, I am sorry to say that I have not related myself to any other but a woman and a man relationship. It would not be either way. There is no gray area. This is what I have been in all my born days. In fact, I am a member of a church, but I cannot speak for my church. I can only articulate what I feel as a member of the church. My church has always been Adam and Eve. It was not Adam and Steve. It's Adam and Eve. It's not Miriam and Eve. And so the word person here is operative. If we say there is discrimination, I don't think there should be a discrimination if we really understood what we mean by person. If there is another person aside from a male and a female, then there can be misunderstanding probably. We can discriminate people not because we want to, but because we may not be. That particular group may have not been explained to us. Their activities, what they are, what are their orientation, their focuses, and how can they help society. I cannot discriminate people on the basis of what they feel, but I can see only a man and a woman. In between, I fail to realize that there's another layer to that. And so, this is how I understand the bill. So when you say that, when you define discrimination here as actual and perceived, that is very dangerous. How can you perceive discrimination on the basis of what I feel, for example? I may be charged of having perceived to be discriminating, but in fact I did not. I may not have realized that they existed, but that does not mean that I discriminate against them. And in defining discrimination instances here, you are saying that even employers are not supposed to make preference in hiring people. There shouldn't be any special treatment and so on. But shouldn't there be a balance between the freedom and the right of employers to choose their employees? Then if you say that we are discriminating on this group of people, is it not possible that they first explain themselves as to who they are, so the employers would know them better? What are their competencies and skills, for example? I am, for example, in the business of hiring security guards. Am I not supposed to list down the requirements of people that I should hire? Because this is something to do with how we save industries or how we guard people in their homes and things. So it's still basic to maybe the groups should first relate themselves to society better. Maybe they should explain themselves better, so I can understand that maybe the employers should be engaged and should know how much capacity do they have. What are their competencies? What are their skills as opposed to the traditional man and women. This is my discomfort, or worry, if you will. I may not be in a position to discriminate, but somehow I am being perceived to be discriminatory because I have not understood very well what this group is all about. Maybe if we do not want to be discriminated, we should be able to explain ourselves better in society. Maybe it's not time yet. There was a time in our history that women cannot vote. It took them so much time, maybe 100 years. But they fought for it. They showed themselves that they can compete. That's why we have women now in Congress, in industries, in private sector. Thank you very much.
May I listen to any reaction from Attorney Ronaldo Reyes from the CBCB?
Yes, Madam Chair, good afternoon. Also to the other members of this committee. I represent the Episcopal Commission on Family and Life under the leadership of Bishop Gabriel Reyes on the forum. And as a preface to my comment, I just be allowed, Madam Chair, to make reference to our position to the earlier versions of the Anti-Discrimination Bill, which the Chair recognized. This was in the 15th Congress. And it will be recalled that the bill then was entitled An Act Prohibiting Discrimination, Profiling, Violence, and all forms of intolerance against persons based on ethnicity, race, religion, belief, sex, gender, sexual orientation, gender identity, language, disability, or other status. The bill, as it is now crafted, Madam Chair, in effect is similar to that earlier bill tackled by the 15th Congress, which nearly became law, as was mentioned also by the Chair, reached the BICAM committee stage, as a matter of fact. Now, we have some comments regarding aspects of the bill. And I would like to second the comment made by former Congressman Marcoleta here regarding the Declaration of Policy. The Declaration of Policy states that the state recognizes the fundamental right of every person, regardless of sex, age, class, status, ethnicity, color, disability, religious and political beliefs, sexual orientation, and gender equality, to be free from any form of discrimination. It shall therefore intensify its efforts to fulfill its duties under international and domestic laws to respect, protect, and fulfill the rights of every individual. This declaration, Madam Chair, that sexual orientation and gender equality, or SOGI, as we put it, with other accepted and conventional classifications including sex, age, class, status, ethnicity, color, disability, religious or political beliefs, as fundamental rights, is misleading, because SOGI is not an existing or recognized class as of today. This declaration also elevates SOGI to the same level as the other classifications with which existing state policy and legislation, such as those in the Revised Penal Code, the Family Code, to mention among others, which may not be justified, desirable, or necessary because it would disregard Filipino values, religious practices, customs, and traditions. The reference to the duties under international laws is also misleading, Madam Chair, because at present, there are no binding or obligatory laws or policies about SOGI in the United Nations, apart from declarations to the General Assembly and the UN Human Rights Council. In the General Assembly, a proposed resolution supporting LGBT rights, originally submitted in its first form in 2008 by French-Dutch representatives, backed by the European Union, remains open for signature, with 94 countries having signed thus far. However, this declaration has not been officially adopted by the UN General Assembly. It must be emphasized that the Philippines is not one of those countries that have sponsored the declaration of LGBT rights in either the General Assembly or the Human Rights Council, or both. We also would like to react to the definition of terms found in Section 3 of the proposed bill, because it says here, for purposes of this Act, the following terms shall be defined as follows. Discrimination shall be understood to imply any distinction, exclusion, restriction, or preference which is based on any ground such as sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, whether actual or perceived, and which has the purpose and effect of nullifying or impairing the recognition, access to, enjoyment, or exercise by all persons of an equal footing of all rights and freedoms. In the first place, Madam Chair, we are defining discrimination, and I believe it is not really a good way to define discrimination as being understood to imply rather than to mean. If we want to state categorically what discrimination is, why not come out and say, why not it's fine? Now, you also have a problem with the portion, it says whether actual or perceived. This would unduly expand our criminal laws, because even perceptions now would be subject to penalties. Now, our concern also has to do with the Family Code, Executive Order number 209 as amended, which defines marriage as the union of one woman and one man. Under the proposed act, with this definition be understood as discrimination in the sense that marriage as defined should be amended to allow same-sex marriage to accommodate persons of varying sexual orientation or gender identity. Is the definition of marriage under the Family Code be deemed as repealed or modified for being inconsistent with the proposed act? The Constitution says marriage as an inviolable social institution is the foundation of the family and shall be protected by the state. The state also recognizes marriage as the foundation of the family and shall be protected likewise by the state. In our Family Code, no marriage shall be valid unless essential requisites are present. And it says, legal capacity of the contracting parties who must be a male and a female. Now, under the proposed bill, will it be deemed as discrimination if, for instance, two persons, the same sex, would apply for a marriage license? Would they not be able to cry, we are being discriminated against? Because precisely this is what the meaning of this bill would seem to make. Now, the inclusion of sex, gender, sexual orientation, and gender identity as a basis for discrimination will elevate these concepts to the same level as race, religion, and ethnicity, and extend and recognize them as a status, even without the benefit of any persuasive study, research, or any showing that the same is warranted, desirable, compelling, or necessary in society. The bill will also create homosexuality as a juridical concept, a status, twist and expand the biological meanings of male and female, compel belief and acceptance of homosexuality under pain of severe penal sanctions, erroneously declares as a state policy that there are universal, interdependent, indivisible, interrelated human rights standards that recognize and protect sexual orientation or gender identity when no international treaty establishes such standard. Again, in seeking to prohibit discrimination based on sex, gender, sexual identity, and sexual orientation by creating and recognizing juridical rights of homosexuals as a class, the bill will in fact effectively result in reverse discrimination against the majority of the population who are identified on the basis of their gender as male and female. We also have an issue, Madam Chair, with the effect of class legislation, because if a bill would now favor homosexuals under the guise of discrimination, and it's something that would violate the constitutional equal protection of the laws. So there, Madam Chair, is a constitutional issue that must be addressed by the committee. Gender identity is reclassified and defined, and as an individual experience rather than male or female, and sex is presented as a sign at birth rather than a biological imperative. So, Madam Chair, those are some of the comments that we have on the bill. However, we will reserve our filing of a formal position paper which will outline all the other comments that we have made this afternoon. So thank you very much, Madam Chair and members of the committee.
Thank you very much, and would like to, when would you be able to submit your position paper, Attorney Reyes? We have already actually one position paper from the CBC already.
Yes, Madam Chair, I was informed that Dean Danilo Aquino of San Beda College of Law has submitted through email position paper. But if I'm not wrong, the comments of Dean Danilo Aquino centers mostly on possible problems with respect to admissions to the seminaries. That's my take on the position paper, and this is there seems to be, in his view, a possible conflict with freedom of religion some of the provisions requires. Specifically, in the right of schools to admit students in seminarians or probably
Yeah, it is different from what we have read this morning, this afternoon. But anyway, when will you be able to email at least the paper as soon as...
Madam Chair, courts normally we are asked for a period of time. 10 days will be too much.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and members of the committee.
Thank you, Attorney Reyes. Now we please listen to Senior Pastor Dr. Peter Tanchi and, from the Christ Commission Fellowship.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Honorable Binabel Villarica and the other distinguished members of Congress. Thank you for allowing us to share this distinguished body. I know this is a very sensitive topic. I also know that we all desire what is best for the country. So we all share the same concern. The decision we make will certainly impact the future. My question is, how do we make appropriate laws? What is the basis of right and wrong? For example, boy is murder, adultery, stealing, wrong. Why is it wrong to abuse women or children? Just a brief history. The Philippine laws are patterned after American laws. The American laws are patterned after the British laws. The British laws are patterned after the Judeo-Christian ethics. In short, the Bible. The same Bible that predicted that a nation that will follow the precepts of God will be blessed. And the same Bible also predicted once we are blessed, we tend to forget the source for blessing. And this is what's happening today in America and Europe. Therefore, I would like to share with you 3 major concepts. Number 1, let us all be careful in just copying American laws or laws from the West. Because what is from the West may not always be good for us. Because they can be wrong also. Number 2, let us be careful about confusing what is politically correct from the reality of what is right and wrong. Is there such a thing as absolute right and wrong? For example, life is sacred. It's a gift from God. So we do not go around murdering people. We believe ethnicity, the color of one's skin, is a gift from God. Therefore, we react to racism. We also believe marriage is sacred. It's a gift from God. So we teach men and women to honor the principle of marriage. Sexuality is sacred. Gender is sacred. It's a gift from God. God created man and woman, as mentioned by Honorable Congress. Therefore, we should do our best to uphold God's design. True tolerance is treating with love and humility someone whose opinions you believe to be wrong and not true. We put up with error, we respect the person, but at the same time disagree with their point of view. In other words, mutual respect. But it does not mean you impose your values on me, nor do I impose my values on you. And lastly, the Bible, God is not focused on homosexuality. the reality is we are all sinners. For example, some of us are addicted more to the sin of greed. Some pornography, some adultery. The emphasis is that God loves us. And He gave us grace through Jesus so that we can transcend our slavery to sin. Therefore, I request all the honorable members of Congress be careful that we do not lower God's standards by passing laws that will blur the truth about God's design. Let us be careful in passing laws that will legitimize what God has clearly declared to be right or wrong. Let us be careful that we do not pass laws that will compel people to make decisions that run counter to their conscience or values. Lastly, Honorable Chairwoman, in the final analysis, you and I are not just responsible for our people today. We are responsible. We are responsible to God and to the next generation. So my prayer is be careful that we pass laws. Thank you.
I'm very interested in understanding after sale. So, if there's other opportunities where we can clarify, maybe in a position paper or something. Can I just ask if, I don't need answers today, I just want to express if they want still to express their insight. And I just want to know, how does the bill, the anti-discrimination bill, violate God's design and His order to respect God's design? How does the bill violate the God's design? But I don't need the response because you want everyone to, maybe the other resource person can also respond to my question.
Yes, so we will give the floor to Ms. Eileen Araneta of Vice President Alliance for the Family Foundation.
Good afternoon, Chair. Madam Chair and other members of the House, good afternoon, and thank you for inviting the Alliance for the Family for having me. My name is Eileen Araneta. I am a mother, first of all, of 6 children. I'm a housewife. I used to work in corporate, in the marketing function, in multinational, and also in family. I am also personally, on a personal level, I'm very much aware of the issues of the LGBT. Me having a son who thinks he's 1, I'm a sister to 1, I'm a cousin to 6, first cousin to 6, and these 6 would be gay, lesbian, bisexual, I never asked, and a transgender. And a transgender, first cousin who has married, divorced, 7. So I know them up close. And I guess to answer the question, there's actually no definition even amongst them. I try to ask them directly, I'm very direct for the whole understanding, and they don't quite agree, even amongst themselves, what gay really is. There's somebody who's gay who has a sexual orientation that looks masculine. There's one of the sexual or same-sex attraction, but he's very feminine, and there are people in between. So it's really quite confusing, and they don't necessarily agree with each other's behavior. So let me just say that to hopefully express the feeling that I come with it with my eyes wide open because I've got my own personal stake in this issue. And I guess our major concern to express the position of Alliance for the Family actually isn't really a position, but it's really more questions that we have. Because a bill has to really come with great clarity state categorically what it means. But even after reading the bill, there remains to be so many, to be very honest, maraming gray, maraming vague. We support, of course, the anti-discrimination. In fact, it's such a big word. How can you not be sympathetic to it? But I think it is